So if I want to graph, so if this is f of x, notice it's not a function. We could write out some lines, but what a pain, right? All we're really going to worry about is those specific points, and then think about what's happening here. So when I see graph f of negative x, I know that's just taking to, for one thing, I know that this is a reflection around the y-axis because the negative's inside. So that means the y values stay the same, the x values change. So this has an x value in -3. This has an x value in -1. This has an x value of 1. This has an x value of what, 1, 2, 3, 4. And this has an x value of 6. So I'm gonna go to a blue graph. So -3, this point, -3, +3 becomes +3, +3. So you see what I did? I just reflected it around, that y-axis. And then the same thing, -1 becomes +1, but the y value stays the same. This one, the x is +1, it turns negative, so I'm putting it there. This is +4, so it flips over to -4. And this is +6, that flips over to -6. And of course the y values stay the same. Of course I gotta make sure I put the right x's. And here we go. Here's that graph. Here's negative f of x. Okay, so see how that works? What about if I do a vertical reflection? I mean a horizontal reflection on the x-axis. So I'm going to graph negative f of x. So that says the x values stay the same, the y values are the ones that change. So this goes up, let's see, so now I'm going to look at the y values, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is what, 1, 2, 3, 4, -4, that's +1, that's -1, that's +3. So +3 becomes -3. Now let me change my ink here so I'm not doing blue. Undo ink, do red. So +3 becomes -3, -1 becomes +1, +1 becomes -1, -4 becomes +4. Notice I'm not changing my x values at all. I'm not sliding at all. And that comes down to -6, I think is here. So, and here we go. So that's reflected around the y-axis or the x-axis. Okay, and the negative's outside. That's where the reason I know it's a reflection around the x-axis. So just to get you ready to do something that I'm going to ask you on the first exam, and maybe I included this in a quiz. I don't remember before that. But suppose I wanted to graph uh, -2 f of x minus 1 minus 3. I don't know if I got room to do this. So here's how you graph these kind of things. I see, and talk about it. Start inside out. So I see that everything shifted right 1 unit because it's a negative. I see it's been stretched vertically by a factor of 2. See how I'm doing order of operations? By 2. It's reflected around the x-axis because it's negative outside. And then it's shifted down 3 because of the -3. So now I'm just going to deal with those points. So let's see. So I'm going to take this point. I'm going to shift it right 1. I'm going to stretch it 2. So let's see. That's at 3. So I'm going to stretch it up to 6. And I reflect it around the x-axis. So this is going to be down at -6. So that's where this point come down here. Except I think I miscounted. No, I didn't. Did I not go up high enough? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. No, I'm okay. Okay. Now this one. I'm going to shift it right 1. Oh, did I shift it down 3? I didn't shift it down 3, did I? So down 3. So this is where that point becomes. So let me erase that. So at this point, I'm going to shift right 1. I'm going to stretch it 2. And then I'm going to reflect it. And then shift it down 3. So this point here, maybe I better, let me undo this. Let's see, how am I going to do this? I'm going to do this down. I'm going to shift it down 3, so that puts it here. This point comes down 3, and that's there. Okay. So now let's maybe I can just do this with a pointer. Next point, this gets shifted right 1, gets reflected, it gets stretched vertically by 2, so 1 times 2 is 2. It gets reflected around the x-axis, and then it gets shifted down 3, so 1, 2, 3. So it's going to be right here at that point right there. See, I eyeball this. Was it 1, 2, 3? Gosh, I lost my train of thought. Here, I'm just going to write it. So I'm going to shift right 1, stretch it by 2 because it's times 2, reflect around the x-axis, so I'm down -2, and then it goes down 3. So I'm right here. That's my next point. I'm going to green, and green. This one gets green too, right? So now I'm going to graph the next point. And I guess I'll use red. So right 1, stretch by 2, so -4 becomes -8, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I'm going to reflect it around the x-axis, so let's see, this is down at 8, so I'm going to go up to +8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then I'm going to shift it down 3 from there. So that's a green point. Now our last point is this one here. I shift it right 1. I stretch it by a factor of 2. Let's see if I can do this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it's going to be up to 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Ooh. So let's see. I'm going to go up 6 more, right? Yeah, I haven't done the stretch. This is at 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Times it by 2 is 12. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then it comes down or reflected around the x-axis. So I'm going to come down in -12. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And then I think I'm going to run out of space here. It's supposed to come down. Then I got to shift it down 3 more. So 1, 2. Whoops. I think I'm off the graph. 1, 2. I don't want to point it. I want to pencil 1, 2, 3. So right about there. That's a green point. And do I have 5 points graphed? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So now we're just going to connect it all up. And here I'm going to use green ink. So there's that. Here's this. Here's this. Here's this. And you can kind of see how the stretch has happened. You can see how it's been reflected around. It's been reflected around the x-axis, and it's been shifted right and down. Okay, and that's what I'm going to ask you to do on the first exam. I'm going to give you a graph like this, and you have to tell me what's happening, and then graph the result. Okay, so hopefully this helps.